Hey guys, welcome back. Thanks for joining me for another video. So this week I want to get into responding versus reacting, and I've made a video on this in the past, and the video did really well and people really enjoyed it, but they really wanted to know what specifically to say in these situations. I feel like sometimes a lot of us tend to get a little overwhelmed in situations, and it's tough to kind of like slow ourselves down so we can be mindful when we are interacting with another person, especially when we're dealing with someone who's narcissistic or toxic or anything, someone who's has a big presence, big personality. If we're not confident in our ability to be able to take care of ourselves, not that it's a bad thing, right? Because we're learning this stuff, but if we're not confident, then that person is going to, because they have such a big energy, they are going to overwhelm us at times. And so in this video, I want to give you two things that you specifically have to remember, study, think about, be mindful, whatever. And then I also want to give you some phrases that you can use when you are interacting with someone so you don't react emotionally to someone and you learn how to start practicing how to respond to people. But before we get into this, if you have not already subscribed to this channel, don't forget to click on the subscribe button down below and also on the notification bell so you can be in loop every time I do upload a new video with a brand new topic. So one of the things that's really huge when we are trying to practice responding to people and not reacting to them is learning about emotionally abusive behaviors, just basically learning about abuse. So the more you learn about a topic, the more you feel comfortable to recognize it, talk about it, things of that sort. So you have to know what abuse looks like. So you have to know gaslighting, you have to know manipulation, you have to know passive aggressive behavior, you have to know when someone's giving you the silent treatment, you have to know when someone's trying to shame you, when someone's trying to guilt you. All of these things that people will do to basically either abuse you, which is essentially just trying to get what they want out of you, which is most likely control. So if you know, okay, I know what gaslighting looks like, I know what manipulation feels like and looks like, then when you are in situations and someone says something, even if it's just a verbally abusive statement, like, hey, I think you look ugly, whatever, right? You will be able to recognize when those things are happening. It becomes even easier when you realize who are the people in my life that are my button pushers and what do they do specifically that push my buttons. When my mother gives me the silent treatment, is that just the thing that kind of throws me over the edge and I begin getting very defensive and reactive to that behavior, and then she completely walks away from the situation and is fine, but I'm here kind of fighting with her about this? So really understanding who are the people in your life that really cause you to get emotionally charged up. Now, if you're dealing with someone at work or if you're dealing with someone that's a stranger that just happens to say something, always recognizing and being aware of your own body and your own self on when that energy starts really getting intense for yourself, where you feel like, I want to react, I want to say this, I want to cut them at their knees, I want to do this, or I want to get entangled in the situation. When that anger starts coming up, that's when you have to be like, okay, here we go. This is the test. Now, one of the first things is knowing, like I said, knowing the behaviors and confronting this person on the behavior. So we're not confronting people because we want to, expose the elephant in the room, like, hey, you're manipulating me, hey, you're guilting me, hey, you're being passive aggressive. We want to do it for ourselves, because if we come to the table with an agenda, which is basically, I'm going to tell this person that they're being manipulative, and then they're going to realize that what they're doing is abusive and they're going to stop. No, that's probably not going to work, because most people are not able to have that kind of self-reflection, especially when someone else is kind of shining light on the things that they have within themselves, their own wounds, that's causing them to do this behavior on you. So most people will become defensive if you say, hey, you're being manipulative. So we're not confronting this person on their unacceptable behavior because we want them to recognize it. If they do, wonderful, then we're able to have a healthy, dynamic and communication between two grown adults, and we're human, so at times we're going to say things and do things that might be hurtful or might be the wrong thing to say. We're not perfect, but at least if someone has a recognition, then we can have a healthy dynamic and a healthy conversation between two adults where one recognizes, oh, I did this to hurt you, I'm so sorry, and the back and forth is healthy. Like I said, most people are probably not able to do that. But confronting someone, recognizing a behavior and being able to confront someone on that specific behavior you having the confidence in yourself to do that is really, really huge. So that confidence to be able to verbally communicate these things to another person shows that you're not intimidated by the behavior, that you're able to, one of the things that's so powerful, I think, is being able to slow yourself down and be confident in who you are and what you have to say. It doesn't matter if anyone agrees with you, but if you're able to articulate yourself in such a way, to me, that's the ultimate confidence right there. That means that you don't fear confrontation, that you don't fear that if I'm about to say this to my sister and she hates when anyone calls her out on something and then, oh, here comes the backlash. Like, you're not afraid of the backlash because you know how to hold on to yourself. You know how to create that bubble. You know how to block that stuff because none of that backlash really has anything to do with you. Will it always be easy in every single moment? Probably not. But you know how to parent yourself. So even if things start to become a little overwhelming, you know how to then take care of yourself after you leave that interaction. So the next thing is when you are having this interaction with this person, holding on to yourself. And this is so important. Holding on to yourself basically means that you recognize when you're meter towards, okay, I'm calm and here's angry and, I'm getting really annoyed with this person and now I want to get emotionally entangled and start going off on them or say something, that you recognize like, okay, it's starting to come up. Here it comes. It's starting to rise. When you recognize it, then you have control because you have control in every single moment on how you handle an interaction. So if I feel this starting to come up, I can either say, okay, I recognize that it's coming. I'm going to calm it down. I'm not going to react because I know that if I react, I'm going to give that person exactly what they want and I'm going to handle myself after the situation. All of that holding on to yourself, that's healthy. And some people, I was always brought up with, oh, you have to stand up for yourself. You have to engage with a person. That's not healthy. That's not controlling your emotional state. That's not taking responsibility for yourself. That's just ego. And, I think that it is important to verbally communicate with someone else, but it can be done in a healthy way. So this means that you have to be aware that when you start to get upset, that you actually might be in an interaction with someone where you might have to excuse yourself. You might have to say, you know what? I'm getting a little overwhelmed right now and I'm getting a little angry, so I'm going to leave this discussion and we can, bring this up at another time once I've calmed down. Fully take responsibility for yourself. That's totally fine. I think that's actually the healthy adult that can say, you know what? I'm just getting a little overwhelmed and heated during this discussion, but I need to take a step back for a second. You want to be aware of your emotions so you don't begin to get angry with the other person, because that's basically what we're trying to avoid. We're not trying to react to someone, we want to respond to someone. But we're human, we have an ego, and at times that button might get pushed, and it's okay. You're human, it's going to happen. But the more you recognize the button, the more you recognize, okay, here it comes, it's coming up, and the more you can control it to say, okay, I'm starting to get really aggravated right now, I'm starting to get overwhelmed, and this isn't working. That's when you know you need to leave a situation, like I said. During an interaction, one of the most important things that you can always do is speak slowly and keep your sentences short. So we don't want to go on and on and on. We want to get right to the point with something. We want to keep our voices calm, and we want to say things very, very slowly and clearly. Basically what you're doing is you're talking to another person the way you would a toddler, except you're not being condescending. So we don't want to be condescending, but we want to slow things down during this interaction versus getting so angry and starting to go, back and forth with this person and and here this person goes, and then it just becomes a screaming match versus, two adults actually listening to each other. So one of the things that I always say if I'm in a situation where someone's getting really, really riled up, and maybe they're even starting to throw some blows, or maybe they're even starting to be a little manipulative, or whatever it is, I always say, I will only speak to you when you have calmed down. The other phrase that's really good to say is, I feel you are being blank. I feel you are being manipulative right now, and I don't want to engage with you having this feeling. So when you are ready to talk about what we were discussing, please let me know. When someone's starting to get riled up and you start noticing it, you can easily just diffuse the situation and say, I notice you're getting very upset right now. Would you like a minute? And that goes right back into that first phrase. Well, when you behave like this, I can't interact with you and I will not interact with you. So if you can calm down, then we can discuss these things. When you're dealing with someone that's starting to be manipulative or passive aggressive, if you call someone out on that and say, I feel like you're starting to be manipulative, I feel like you're starting to be passive aggressive, and I will not engage with anyone who treats me in that way, they are going to immediately get defensive and say, that's not what I'm doing, I'm not doing this. And you can easily say, and that's okay if you don't agree with me. This is how I feel, and I'm going to disengage from this conversation until we can talk about things calmly, rationally, get back on topic, whatever. If you set parameters around talking to someone, meaning I won't engage with you when you behave like this. When you start becoming verbally abusive, I'm not going to talk to you when you are speaking to me in that way. Your tone is a little passive aggressive. Whatever it is that you're calling them out on, you then have to state what it is that you would like to happen. So if you're telling someone, I'm not going to engage with you when you behave this way, we can talk at another time once you've calmed down or once you begin respecting me, because this is how I deserve to be treated, you know, someone that doesn't verbally bash me. And as long as you, again, slowly talking to this person, short sentences, there has to be a consequence if this person continues. And so this is where sometimes the ego tends to get involved on your end, is that you feel as though, well, I've said what I wanted to have happen, and this person isn't doing it, and so now I might start getting a little frustrated or aggravated, or I might really keep going back and forth with this person. There is no going back. You have now set a boundary, and now the consequence is you are leaving the discussion, the argument, the interaction, whatever, because the environment that you're in is not good for you. And you've stated that to that person. Now again, this seems very, very basic, and at times it can be extremely easy to do. It doesn't have to be something that's so overwhelming. I get often from people that will say, you know, this is really hard to do when you're actually interacting with someone. It's really not. As long as you know who the people are in your life that are your button pushers. I remember there's a few people that whenever I have had to interact with them, I know right off the bat that even before the interaction that I would have to say, okay, I'm gonna hold on to myself. I'm gonna know what this person's capable of doing, meaning they're gonna cut me at my knees. Their drink of choice is manipulation. Their drink of choice is passive aggressive or the silent treatment. I had to be aware of all of those things. So once I became aware of it, when the behavior started, I don't know why, but for some reason it was really easy for me to hold on to myself, because I realized my ego wasn't involved anymore. I didn't need for this person to change who they were. That wasn't what I was trying to do. What I was trying to do was only keep myself in environments where my energy was flowing. And when I felt like my energy was starting to get, I was starting to get really upset and I wanted to engage with someone, I knew that it was time for me to leave, because they were starting to push a button, and that button had nothing to do with them. They might have triggered the wound, right? But that all had to do with the stuff that I had to tend to, and I knew that that environment wasn't healthy for me to be in. And my ego wasn't involved, that I felt the need to react, because by reacting, that is all ego. And so I don't need anyone else to change their behaviors. All I need to do is to be able to verbally communicate with someone else what I expect. And if that doesn't happen, then I leave an interaction, I leave a conversation, and I do it very calmly and nicely, because really, like I said, there's no ego involved. So I don't need someone else to change their ways. They can do whatever they want to do. If they want to be passive aggressive with someone else, they can go right ahead. But with me, that's not something that I'm going to deal with or put up with. So I hope that that has helped you guys out there understand the difference between responding versus reacting. I think that the most important thing that you can ever do for yourself is learn how to hold on to yourself. And recognizing behavior is really the first step. And recognizing, okay, here comes anger, I'm starting to get irritated or annoyed, and knowing that you have a choice on what you do when that anger comes up. Do you want to engage with someone? Is your ego involved? So if anything, watching these videos will help you going forward when you are in interactions with people, when that anger starts to come up. And I think the first step towards real change is at least recognizing the behavior in the moment. So like I said, I hope that you have enjoyed this. If you have, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and I will see you next week.